Hi, I'm Jason Gorber from ThatShelf.com, and I'm not sure how you've been spending your time during COVID, but I've actually been watching a lot of YouTube videos of all things, trying somehow to sort of mix creativity with education. I've been digging into incredibly humbling YouTube video makers that delve pretty deeply into musical composition and different elements. There's obviously Rick Beato's been doing this for years. People like Adam Neely. It's David Bennett, actually, that did something really interesting, I thought. I sort of delved back into his history. And he did something on a form that he called word painting. I'd never really thought of this. And this is when a lyric explicitly in a song, often a pop song, will say what it's doing. So if somebody's singing the word high, it goes high. And if somebody sings the word low, it goes low. That's sort of overt breaking of the fourth wall musical moment. Now, the one that he actually played that immediately came to mind as soon as he started describing it was actually Wake Me Up Before You Go-Go. George Michael singing the word high and just going stratospheric with his range. I wanna hear that. And that's sort of been floating in my head as we've sort of all been delving into Hamilton on the opening weekend of the Disney Plus extravaganza. You have thousands, if not millions of people suddenly discovering this musical that people have been going nuts for 5 years is actually probably a pretty good thing to do. There's actually one moment that is really fascinating that actually takes this word painting element and sort of twists it on its head. And I haven't seen anybody actually articulate this. So in the Hamilton score, on You'll Be Back, the most musical moment of what takes place in Hamilton, King George actually sings Oceans Rise, Empires Fall.
Oceans rise, empires fall.
But of course when Jonathan Groff sings it, and everybody subsequently sings it, Oceans Rise, the score drops.
Oceans rise.
And when empires fall, you get this amazing clear tone that Groff has. It is so infuriatingly great. But nonetheless, that is an example, again, of David Bennett's word painting, but it twists it on its head. And this is the kind of sort of tongue-in-cheek stuff Lin-Manuel Miranda and his orchestrators do all the time. They're employing so many references that a lot of people are getting from pop music, especially from the 80s and 90s, contemporary hip-hop, but also these real subtle musical theater and musical composition allusions that not everybody will probably get right away. If you look in the credits of Hamilton, actually, in the playbill, he actually gave reference to a number of tracks that he overtly references. There's some like stuff from West Side Story and all kinds of elements that don't necessarily get a shout out. But Rodgers to Hammerstein get a shout out. Pirates of Penzance gets a shout out. And Last 5 Years gets a shout out. Last 5 Years, if you don't know, I think is a remarkable musical. It happens to be 5 years since Hamilton came out, and it happens to be a few years since the movie version of Jason Robert Brown's divorce drama played out. It is a beautiful musical, an exquisite film that unfortunately did not get the attention it deserved in quite the same way, let's say, that Hamilton is. But there's a very explicit musical reference at the end of one of Hamilton's songs. So if you've not seen or heard Last 5 Years, it's a story told with a beautiful structure. It's a story told with a beautiful structure. It's sort of a cross structure. It begins with a song of regret, a song of loss, as a relationship is breaking up. And then the first song for the man is the introduction of the relationship. And it sort of crosses somewhere in the middle. But there's this moment of regret towards the end of the play where the lead male sings Nobody Needs to Know, and that's explicitly referenced in Hamilton, so much so that Jason Robert Brown gets again a shout out in the playbill. There's no overt reference in Say No to This and Nobody Needs to Know. The last cadence, those last notes play. If you hear it here in Hamilton,
nobody needs to know.
Nobody needs to know.
And you hear it here in Last 5 Years.
Nobody needs to know.
Nobody needs to know.
You can hear how the two songs really are the same. Different keys, of course, but nonetheless doing the same thing musically and echoing from one play to another what's actually taking place.
Nobody needs
all the Hamilton heads, or whatever you're calling yourselves these days, know this. But what I love about it is it's the kind of sort of overt shout out to a particular type of musical that many of the people that are coming from the hip-hop side, in other words, pop music side, not musical theater side, might not know the reference to. And all the Broadway nerds know all the reference to and might not necessarily get all the hip-hop references. It's this key sort of indication. It's one exemplar of everything that Lin-Manuel Miranda and his team are doing with Hamilton. Look, for 5 years, people have sort of broken down this musical to all of its intricate and granular bits. But this is just one moment that every time I hear it, I realize that it's not just a reference for the sake of being a reference, it's a loving homage. And so much of that might get lost if you're just being bombarded with everything that Hamilton is. If all you do is take from it the fact that Lin-Manuel Miranda heard this little lick, really respected this other contemporary artist within his genre, gave a shout out to it, gave an explicit mention in the playbill, and actually shows that he's very much part of, as it were, both of these worlds, of drawing in from people like Questlove and all the people that helped out with a mixtape, but also drawing in from the world of musical theater. This is not some sort of outside in coming and completely ripping up everything that came before, the way that some people have articulated that Hamilton in some ways was trying to do, that suddenly it was rewriting the book of what it was to be in musical theater. Obviously, this is something that is within the institution, but also bringing something new, exciting, and fresh to the institution. And that, for me, sort of puts Hamilton not only sort of a grand success and something that people can actually get excited about and understand the art form a little bit deeper, but it's references to Sondheim, to Andrew Lloyd Webber, to all the other sort of big giants of it, as well as the classic stuff from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, as well as contemporary hip-hop, as well as the sort of historicity of many of these songs that try to tackle similar subjects. It all is in here. It's all a giant melting pot that resulted in, frankly, this phenomena that is Hamilton. Now, as I said, many of you will have known about the last 5 years. For those that didn't, please dig it out. Please check out the film. And again, that musical painting, that's just one element within many that you see that they're playing with the musical form and the way that the notes themselves tell a story as much as the lyrics. For thatshelf.com, I'm Jason Gorber. Please go enjoy a bunch of stuff during these crazy times. Just dig in and have fun falling down YouTube rabbit holes and watch Hamilton more than a few times just to get so many of these references kicking in for you. All the best, and we'll see you next time.